Hello, welcome to South Central Service Cooperative's Tech Tuesday. My name is Joanne Womack. I'm the Technology Coordinator Integrationist here at the Co-op, and I will be your host. I hope you enjoyed this week's session.
Good evening. Welcome to Beard and Family Night. I know usually Joanne and I come in person and do this activity with you and your parents, but we're unable to be in person right now. So your teachers have thought of a way to do it anyway. They are so innovative and they like you so much and love you that they created this opportunity for you.
Our criteria today is that we are going to make a paper circuit and we're going to light up an LED bulb. Our constraints are we're going to be using approximately 2 feet of conductive tape, an LED bulb, coin battery, a handout or template, scotch tape, and it will take us approximately 10 minutes.
Okay, so you would have already gotten a packet from your teacher before tonight. So in your packet, you should have about 2.5 feet of copper tape. You will find a bulb, and it may be any color. It may be white, yellow, red, green. I don't know what color that you got, but mine are blue tonight. And then you'll have a battery, and it'll probably be in the little packet that you'll have to take out for safety. It might not be in the packet, but it might be. And then you will need some tape. And you don't have to have scissors. You can have scissors, but this copper tape tears real easily. So you could just tear it. So you might not have scissors in your packet and you don't really need them. And I'll probably do it without scissors to show you that you don't have to have scissors. You may have a ruler at home, or you don't have to have a ruler. You can measure these lines and then measure your tape, or we can just do it the non-traditional way and just line it up and measure it that way. Okay, and you'll have a template. Simple circuit. So we're going to work on a circuit, and we are going to try to light up this light bulb. But the first thing you want to do is take your battery out, because we want to test our materials first, because if it doesn't work, you might think that you built it the wrong way, and really it might just be the material that wasn't working in the first place. So let's take out our battery and take your bulb, and if we were in person, I would let you practice and try to get it on there. So I'll stop for just a second and let you practice. How can you get this bulb to light up with just the battery and the bulb? Pause the video and try that with your parents real quickly. So welcome back. When you were away, you probably discovered that you could put these two prongs in, put the battery in between the two prongs. But at first you might have went, I did that, and it didn't come on. But then you probably thought a little bit longer and you decided to switch it around, and then you stuck it on that way and it lit up. So now you know your bulb and your battery works, even though at first you might have thought, I think I got some defective material. But I bet your teacher practiced before she sent it to you. So, or he. So there you go. Now, there's a positive and negative on the battery, and the prongs are positive and negative. And we'll talk about that more in a minute, okay? All right, so now I know I have all my materials and they're close by. I have a clear working space. I'm using my lab safety rules. I'm sitting straight up in my chair and my feet are on the ground. So everything will be safe.
Step 1 and 2 is to follow the lines marked on the template with the copper tape and folding the paper along the line in the corner. Keep watching to follow along step by step.
We're going to be using copper tape. Does anybody know why we're using copper tape instead of just regular tape? We'll let you think about it while we're working, okay? So you're going to get your tape And you're going to start somewhere on your sheet. And it really doesn't matter where you start, you just need to go all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this bottom piece and go around because it seems like it might be easier. So what I'm going to do, so I don't have to use my ruler, but if I'm older, like if I'm in 5th or 6th grade, I might want to use the ruler and practice on my mathematical skills. But if you're in the younger grades, you can just put your tape right there and put your finger down where it's at the end of the line. And then you can just tear it. See how easily it tears? And you don't have to use the scissors. So let me show you what I ended up with. The same length. And it's important to get the same length. So now this is a little bit tedious. And tedious means that it's not hard to do, but it takes patience, okay? Doctors, when they're in surgery, they have tedious work because they just have to be real precise and careful. So what you're going to do is spread out the white part and the copper part. So you're going to separate the white part and the copper part, but just a little dab, okay? Because if you pull it apart, your copper tape is going to ring up like my ringlets on my head, and you won't be able to use it. It'll mess it up. And the teachers had to send you just about the same amount you're going to need, so we can't waste any. So just barely take your little piece out. And now, if you're right-handed, this may seem backwards to you. You may want to do it that way if you're right-handed. I'm left-handed, so I like doing it this way, but either way is okay. So I'm going to start at that very end of that dark black line, and as I pull, I'm going to stick. So pull a little bit of the white out, stick. Pull a little bit of the white out and stick. And it's okay if it takes you a few minutes, because you want to get it on there really good so we won't have problems later. So pull it, stick it, pull it, stick it, pull, stick, pull, stick, pull, stick, pull, stick. And try to keep it lined up. If you don't have it exactly lined up, it'll probably be okay, but just make sure, try to line it up. And one way I keep it lined up is I keep my white on that line as I'm pulling it, and that kind of guides my tape where it needs to go. And when you get there to the end, it'll automatically come off like that. Then you smooth it down. You don't want to have any air bubbles in there if you can help it. Now, it may be a little rough and it'll still work. It's okay. But you want to smooth it down like that. Okay. So next, that piece is just your white piece. So then you have your long piece again, and you're going to do another section. But guess what? They have to touch. So they overlap. So I'm going to measure the same distance of the black line. The black line comes all the way, it's up under there. So I'm going to overlap it and measure it to the end of that and cut it with my fingers again. So it's overlapped. I'm going to smooth it out, and I'm going to see where the end is, and then I'm going to tear it with my fingers again. And when you tear it, it kind of makes it easier to pull them apart too, because it gives you can see the white part. And I probably should have put my reading glasses on, but you don't need reading glasses, do you? If your parents are helping you, maybe they have reading glasses. Okay, so then you take it apart. Now remember, you don't rip it apart. You want to so bad because it'd be so fun, but we don't want to do it because we don't have any more tape to give you. Your packet got sent home. All right, so you stick it and you overlap it. And I'm going to show you that before I go too much further so you'll know. See how they're overlapped? So they're touching. They like each other, so they're going to touch. All right, so I'm going to pull and stick, pull and stick, pull and stick. Same process. And try to smooth it out as I go. And remember, I'm kind of lining it up with my white tape because the backing, because if I pull it sideways, it's going to go crooked. So I try to keep it lined up with that black mark. It helps it go line up. Now I went off a little bit, but I still think it's going to work okay. Just as long as I have it down flat, Try to get all the bubbles out. And looky here, I've already got 2 sections done. Now, oh, right here. I got confused on which way the camera is facing. All right, so this part is a little bit, you have to make sure that you do have a gap. On your sheet, it shows the bulb. We're not going to put the bulb yet, but we need to leave that gap. So just think of the bulb being a gap. Okay, so you're going to go from here to the very end. You can barely see it. It's right before the bulb. You're going to stop. Okay, so I got my tape again. It's still nice and neat because I was real careful about pulling the white off. And I'm just going to measure this time. I'm only going to measure from here to the little gap. I'm not going all the way across this time, okay? So I'll measure to the little gap. And like I said, if you're right-handed, you may have it turned around the other way. Or you may not. It just depends on what feels comfortable to you. You do it whichever way you want to. Now this is the hard part sometimes, getting this off. And if it is kind of hard, don't get frustrated. It'll be okay. Just take your time because that's what scientists do. They don't get it right at the beginning. They have to really work at it. So this time, I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to make sure it overlaps again because they have to touch. And then I'm going to pull and stick, pull and stick. And I'm trying to keep, oh yeah, I got to tear it first. Got ahead of myself. Okay, so I want to measure from there to the end where the bulb is. I'm going to have that gap. And I'm making them touch, so then I'm going to tear it first. And yeah, when you tear it, it does make it easier to get these apart. So that's better than using scissors, really. Okay, so then I'm going to overlap it, and I'm going to stick it down on the other piece. I'm going to stick and pull, stick and pull, stick and pull. Very carefully line up my white piece with the black line, and it kind of guides the tape where it's supposed to go. And I've noticed, and this may happen to you, that my tape, I didn't measure exactly right, so it's going to come a little bit in the gap. It does not need to go in the gap. So I'm going to get my fingernail, and I'm going to tear off that piece that went in the gap. Because we need a gap there. We need a gap. We need a gap. That's important. And you'll see why. We'll figure it out. Okay. So I just tore off, see, I just yanked it off, carefully though. Okay, so I do have that gap left. All righty, so guess what we get to do next? You could pause the video and finish the rest out if you wanted to. All right, if you didn't, or if you're back, let's go to the next little piece. All right, so here's a gap. And if you know how, you can fast forward this. All right, so I'm going to measure and tear, measure and tear. Measure and tear. And then, I think if you have 2.5 feet of this, you'll have plenty that if your finger is at that point and you move it out of the way a little bit to tear, you'll still have enough to do yours. So it'll be okay. So now since I tore it, I can see the white, and I'm going to pull it apart. And guess what we're going to do again? Pull and stick, pull and stick, pull and stick. And I'm leaving a gap. I'm leaving a gap there. Remember, the bulb picture means a gap. We're going to fill it in with the bulb later. And now I'm trying to do this like a right-handed person, and it's a little bit difficult because I'm doing it the opposite direction, but I can still do it. All right. Now I'm going to smooth this down. And you know, I'm kind of glad I'm doing this for you because you can see that it doesn't have to be perfect. Because I'm not perfect. And it is kind of wiggly, but I think it'll still work. But you got to smooth it out. I know that back. Because we cannot break the circuit. If we break the circuit, it might not work. All right. Now we're gonna close that circuit with something else in a minute, and the picture's a clue. All right, here we go. We got some more tape. Guess what we're gonna do? You're right. Measure tear. Okay, and this time I'm going all the way down to the little circle there. And it kind of looks like a circle, like a battery. Okay, so I'm going to go down about halfway. So go all the way down about halfway of the battery there. I'm going to let it overlap. So make sure I measure right. All right. See, I measured to that exactly, but I have a little bit left over, so I know I can move my finger just make an indentation. I know that's where I got to tear it. I'll tear it right there. Okay. Now, pull and stick. You got it right. You said it before I did that time, I bet you. Stick and pull, stick and pull. Stick and pull. And I've got my white one lined up with the black to kind of keep it straight. Next time I do this, I'm going to wear my reading glasses. Okay, here we go. Yay! Came out just right then. See, it just went over the middle, but it is going to still work. You just need to be able to see your plus sign.
Step 3 is to mount the LED light to the copper tape. Keep watching.
Okay, and something I wish we would have done at the very beginning is mark on here plus and minus because of these probes, but it'll be okay because you can see the long one and you can see the short one. Now, press, 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 because we want this to work. So you can spend some time pressing it down. All right, so you're going to take your bulb now and you're going to line it up with the long prong. You're going to line it up with the long prong, where the long prong is down here and the short prong is over there. Now, do that and have that where you need it before you spread the prongs out, because after you spread them out, you can't tell which one's the long one and which one is the short one. Believe me, because I did it, okay? And I had to figure it out, I had to troubleshoot. All right, so I know that my long prong is here, my short one's there, and on the page it's long and short, okay? It might be backwards if you're looking at me through the camera, but you can look at yours and see which one's which. So I know it's got to face that way. So now that the long prong's on this side, actually the long prong goes on the same side as this long strip. Okay, so I'm going to spread them out like that because one's positive and one's negative. And after I spread it out, I'm going to make sure the long prong's on the same side that it is on my sheet. And then I'm going to just kind of set it there so I know where it goes. And I'm going to get the littlest dab of tape and tear your tape sideways, and it comes off a whole lot easier. If you try to go straight down, it's hard to tear. So tear it kind of sideways. And then I'm going to tape my bulb on the copper, and it has to touch. So I press it down really good. So I'm going to show you this side. See how I taped it down and it touches the copper? So the wire of the prong touches the copper tape. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. A little bitty piece of tape. You can turn it sideways. And it comes off really easily. Alrighty. And I'm going to push this down because they have to touch. If they don't touch, we may have a problem, Houston. All right.
Step 4 is attaching the battery to the circuit. Pay attention to positive and negative.
All right, there we go. Now, this part. We want to test and see if it works before we tape our battery. So there is a solid line there. So you're going to fold that. So fold on the solid line. So it kind of looks like that folded. And if you don't know if you folded it right, you can kind of look in the back and show it up to the light, and you can see that my fold is not exactly right. So I'm going to move it over just a little bit more. And I'm going to look through the light. And it's pretty good. I think I got it pretty good. All right, so then you're going to put your battery on your piece of paper. So notice it says negative and it says positive. So I'm going to put my negative part right here, and I'm going to lap over the positive to touch it. And I'm going to test it before I tape it. Yay, my light came on. It's never done it the first time. And we did not re-record that piece. It actually did it the first time. So see, I did kind of make some crinkles, and it still worked. And I smoothed it down real good. So now that it's lit, I'm going to show you how to put the battery on there, to tape it on there so it won't fall off. But you have to be careful, because if you cover up the battery with the tape, then it won't have that connection and it won't close the circuit. That's like turning the light switch off. When you turn the light switch off, do you open or close the circuit? Y'all think about that as we continue to work. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so my tape does not go over my battery all the way, so I can still have a connection, I'm going to put a little piece of tape on the side. See how I got that open spot? And then I'm going to put a little piece on the other side too. Remember, tear your tape sideways so it'll come off easily. All right, and I'm just barely going to put it on there. See how I have an open space? Whoopsie. Okay. Oh, don't do that. Okay. Now, see how I have open space on both sides? My tape does not cover the whole battery. Let's see if this will work. All right, so I'm going to tape it down over the negative. The negative's going to touch the negative, and the positive's going to touch the positive. So I have it taped down there, and then let's try it and see if it works before I say I'm finished. Yay! All right, now if you want your light to stay on for your night light tonight while you sleep. Now remember, batteries don't last forever, so it will die on you, but you did the project, you might want a night light tonight. So you could actually tape it down where, whoops, you have to tape it pretty good to make it stay on. It's like a switch. You can figure it out. It may or may not be where you can leave it on. You just have to get that tape on there so good. But you know what? If you want to roll over, turn your light on, turn it off. Kind of like a light switch. Did you figure out if the circuit's closed or opened when you do a light switch? Closed or open? You can tell your teacher about it when you see them next time. I hope you have fun with the simple circuits. I hope I get to be in person next year. Bye-bye.